that's a pretty good turnout. Okay, so I'm gonna have Dan on one phone, so he's here, and then I'm gonna call each one separately. So we can ask all the questions to high altitude, and then we'll do KRW, and then we'll do STR. Okay? Good. And I'll explain to that when I connect with them on the phone, and you have trouble hearing them, I'll facilitate.
Do you want them to introduce themselves and give us like an overview, so, and then we'll.
Sure.
I think that would be it, maybe with an emphasis on what makes them unique, or any of the highlights that they want to emphasize from
Okay.
their package. You ready? Oh yeah. It was wonderful. It was good. Too good. There's a lot, a ton of food left. Yeah. You guys need to go there and get more, because I'll end up eating this. I'm ready to go to sleep now.
That's what I thought.
He's serious. Oh, I am. Pam's going to get together the co-reinforcement teacher. Just to show you. Yeah,
So how's Mr. Dual
Good,
personality?
good, good, good.
Cops adapt more chaos.
You have to. It's like a school secretary. It is what it is. Get with the program, guys.
Yeah, see it?
on this phone.
Call to order our special meeting for Florence City Council, Tuesday, July 1st, 2025. Please rise for a pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Counselor Van Houten, Counselor Stiefel, Counselor Mergelman,
Here.
Counselor Gardner,
Here.
Counselor Stone,
Here.
Counselor McKinnon,
Here.
Mayor Wolf,
Here.
and City Attorney is attending virtually.
Okay, thank you. New business, consider entering an agreement for recruitment services for the city manager position. City clerk.
Yes, so as earlier discussed, I'm going to call each of the proposal companies so you guys can ask some questions. I will make sure that I kind of set it up in a way for them to kind of discuss their proposal and maybe address any highlights that they want you to know before going into questioning. But does that sound conducive to your guys' expectations? Is that good? Okay. Okay, so we're going to start with High Altitude. His name is Andrew. And thank you for your patience in advance for any technological difficulties. Hey, Andy, this is Cortland from the City of Florence. How are you? I'm good. Hey, I am going to put you on speaker here, and we're obviously in our special meeting, and I have my city council ready to ask you some questions. But I wanted you to go ahead and start by telling us about your proposal and some of the highlights that you think are important for the city council to know before questioning. And then if you have trouble hearing them, just let me know and I'll do my best to relay the questions. Okay? Okay, thank you.
No worries. So my name is Andy. I live up in Arvada, Colorado. I'm the owner of High Altitude Recruiting. We've been in business for just under a year. I launched my company after working 10 years in an executive search firm based out of Golden, Colorado. And while I was there, we worked with various cities like the city of Lakewood in hiring a deputy city manager and some other roles to support the city. And then recently, we were working with the city of Arvada. The proposal that I sent over is very similar to the proposals that I've sent to both Arvada and Lakewood, in that, first, for us, our scope of work is always engaging with the city council and key stakeholders on outlining and understanding what your needs are. I think it's really important to paint that picture with all of the key stakeholders so everyone's on the same page. It's then ideal for us to craft an amazing job description, because for most candidates, this is the first handprint or shake of a hand or digital handprint, so to speak, that they're going to have with your city. So it's painting a picture for those individuals who may not know what the city is like, what it has to offer, where it is, just little like notes and pointers. One of the things that we've gotten great feedback on, and especially with the city of Lakewood, was what are the school systems like if we're having to relocate a candidate, right? So if it's a candidate with a young family, what are the schools like? What does the housing market look like? What is the climate like? Just all of these little things. What can you go and do? And what great things in our state that we get to offer. Then we do a targeted outreach. We usually curate a list of cities around the country, if your search will be nationwide, of similar size, maybe a little bit bigger, but also keying into what initiatives is this city manager going to have to do for you in the first 30 days, 90 days, year, 18 months, and then identifying what other cities have maybe had to do similar projects that we can then target city managers or deputy city managers from those competitors. And then our candidate screening process, we first do a 30-minute introductory call. This is for me to get to know who the candidate is. Typically, it's more of just a get to know you, and it's a really good way to get an idea of what the candidate's like outside of work. So it's more of like a cultural interview. And if I can sit with them and chat with them for 30 minutes, I usually move them on to then a 60-minute interview. And this is done over video conference or in person if possible. And that's more of the behavioral. Let's talk about all of the key things that you guys need and we've discussed on our in-depth intake call. And then after that, we build a candidate profile, which typically is a reformatted resume. The reason we do this is if you see a candidate with a resume that's been quickly put together because we've headhunted them versus a candidate who spent $1,000 having a copywriter rewrite it, we just want to make sure everyone's seen in the same light. First couple pages are usually the resume, and then it's my in-depth interview notes. And then the last page will include all of the compensation data that you can rip off and shred if you want to share it with other team members who might be on the interview panel, but you don't want to share that information. We also use a platform called Loxo, which is a fully transparent search process tool. So it tracks everything that we're doing from the day we launch our search to the day we close the offer. Whoever is on the hiring team or in the city council that has a touch point to this search can have a login. You can see everything we're doing, see where people are in the interview process. We typically mark them as red, black, green, and yellow. Black are people we've reached out to that we haven't had a conversation with. Yellow are usually people that we're somewhere in the interview process with, whether it's we're exchanging emails or they're scheduling interviews. Green are people that are ready for the panel to start to interview. And red are people we've ruled out. We leave detailed notes so you can see why. It could be something as simple as location, compensation. Those are usually the two biggest ones. Or if I just don't think they're a good culture fit. What's really neat about the way that we do this is the world gets very small, as I'm sure you know. So you'll be able to recognize cities, names, and usually that strikes up conversation of, oh, we really like what they're doing over there, or hey, we've heard some bad things over here. So it just gives us a good understanding to stay on the same page. Sometimes, if you guys like, we can include evaluations and assessments that we can upload into the program so everything's in one spot. And then for most of our searches, some cities like it, some don't. We have candidates make a quick 3 to 5 minute video detailing who they are, why they're interested in the role, a little bit about them personally. Gives you guys a great opportunity to put a face to a name. That's not mandatory because some people get really scared, but typically when I say, hey, most candidates are doing it, they'll put a video together. And then after that, we can support with the onboarding and hiring if needed, or the salary negotiations. Every company or city that we've worked with, it's different. And then if needed, we can do screenings for background checks, drug administration, but I know that most governments want to do that themselves, so they have the records. Like I said, we've partnered with the city of Lakewood. I was the lead recruiter to fill roles like the deputy city manager. I believe Ben is still there. We did some building official roles, a city transportation engineer. We worked with Jeffcom 911 to hire their deputy director. I've kept in touch with Michael. I know he recently left after he became an empty nester, and I believe they moved south. And then we have worked with a couple military companies that we were under strict NDA, so we can't discuss, but they did have clearance measurements in place, and they were based out of Seattle, Washington. And then last, all of our placements have a 1-year guarantee. So if the person doesn't work out in that 1-year calendar, from the offer letter stage onwards, we'll redo the search for free.
Okay, council, do you have any questions?
Let me know if you can hear him okay.
Okay, I have a
Sure.
couple. You put down that you can do this within 6 to 7 weeks. And also, how many semifinalists do you bring to us?
Yeah, really good question. So the 6 to 7 weeks is an average. Every search is different, but our goal is to get out of the gate fast. We find the first 72 hours is really key. The 6 to 7 week average is usually when everything is kind of done quickly, right? So our job description's built. We have all the key stakeholders who are ready to start the interview process right away. And then to your question, my goal is to present you with 3 to 5 qualified candidates within our system that we discuss on a weekly or bi-weekly basis. Sorry, I forgot to mention that. Usually our searches go really well when we jump on a quick 30-minute call every week or bi-weekly. So everyone's on the same page. I can then discuss who's in process, where they are, because oftentimes if we're interviewing a candidate, they're also interviewing elsewhere. So I can say, hey, Tina's over here interviewing in Sacramento. She's 2 interviews in. She's really great. She matches everything you want. We might need to speed up the interview process. If we don't hold that weekly or bi-weekly call, it's really hard. But my goal is to provide you with 3 to 5 really qualified candidates on paper. Who you would like to move forward with is totally your call. But ultimately, we find that when we narrow it down 3 to 5, you're usually finding a candidate in that small group. And you'll see from our system you're able to log into, I think for the city of Lakewood, we reached out to close to 175 applicants, and we maybe interviewed 40, and we narrowed those down for Kathy to 3 to 5.
Okay, you answered part of my question. You said you can go nationwide.
Yep.
And how many hits do you normally get in a search versus when you said you had 100 and what was it, 75 and looked at 40? How are your hits? Are your hits good on your website, that search engine that you use?
So we don't typically post a role unless it's required. We have a great network, so we'll probably get between, I say our job postings, if we do post them, get between 500 to 1,000 views a week. For a search like this, if you're just posting it and waiting for applicants, it's going to take a really long time. What we do is we will actively headhunt. So we will go out and we will identify 250 to 1,000 applicants nationwide, and we will actively reach out to them using different tools, including our network, LinkedIn, and email campaigns. And then that way it ensures that we're getting the right information to them right away and we're not waiting for them. And also we find that when you're actively being headhunted and we reach out to them and we say, hey, we're really interested in your background, it's a better engagement. But sorry, to answer your question, if we do post a job, we usually get about 500 to 1,000 hits on our page a week.
Okay, so you're actively a head hunter and not waiting
Yes.
for someone to come to you with a deadline of whatever it might be.
We actively headhunt.
Okay,
We
thank
feel
you.
like that's the best engagement.
Thank you.
Yep.
Andy, you're talking about weekly or bi-weekly calls and logging, having everything posted on a system. Is there any problems with those calls with the open meeting laws at all?
Sorry, I lost the end of that. Is there any problem with and then it broke up?
Well, with the Colorado open meeting laws, when you have discuss on a weekly or bi-weekly.
So the system that we use is very high security, so no one can log in and see it unless you have username and password. And then the biweekly or weekly calls, typically we do that over a video conference or in person if we need to, and we'll just share a screen and we'll discuss who's in process and where. Sorry, I missed the end of that when you said something about the law.
Open meeting laws, like, I'm not sure we could have, and correct me if I'm wrong, like a video conference with more than with 3 or more council members at a time without calling an official meeting.
So then my recommendation for that, and the way that we did it for like the city of Lakewood, for example, is Kathy would, and we met in person with her because it was so close, but it was, then typically we want one key stakeholder, and it's usually the person who's going to make the final decision or be the conduit between the decision-making team. So whoever is in that like seat of, you know what, I'll be the first round of interviews, and then I'll be the one that's going to, go back to the group and kind of be the conduit between interview team and candidates. That's who we would need on the call every week, if possible, just because it keeps everyone aligned and on the same page. And then that way, let's assume a city council member runs into them at a park or down the hall. Hey, how's that search going? That individual can be, great, we've got 3 active candidates. We're going to start scheduling them next week. It just gives you guys an understanding of like how the cadence and timing works.
All right, thank you.
And that's completely flexible. It's what helps us keep that very quick turnaround. Because when we start headhunting, our whole point is we never ghost candidates. We always want to keep them engaged. And the worst part of a search is when we start to find, hey, we got to start scheduling with 15 different people, and then schedules get out of whack, and that's where it slows down the process.
How many people do you have that work to find a candidate? Like if you're getting 1,000 to 500 calls a week, how do you whittle them down?
Yeah,
And
that's
then-
a great question. So we have a small little team. I've got 2 women who work for me. And then I've got my mother, who is our administrative officer, and then my sister's also a recruiter. So we are truly a family-owned business. We do a really good job of just making sure that we screen every candidate. Typically, we have one person who runs point. So I will interview every single candidate so I can match them against one another. But our sourcing methodology is we have 2 or 3 people go to market with the same message of, hey, candidate A, B, C, we've got this open role in this city. Here's the job description. Here's the link to schedule a call with Andy. And then that's how the process starts. So we're all working on it together, but I will be the only person to interview for this particular role. But, if we have another position open at the same time, then Sarah would do that. We would have the sourcing team supporting her on finding the candidates, but she would actively run all the interviews. That way we just keep it very consistent.
Okay, thank you.
I would have to consider anybody that's out there now with this kind of a resume that's looking for a job is going to answer or respond when they see the job opening. And I think that's not going to change much. I think they see it's a small town, classify it that way. But my main concern is, I'm sure I'm like every other, we're like any other municipality, we're unique. And I'm more concerned with, we put a job description together that gets us somebody in here that's going to fit. And that's my main concern.
Sorry, could you, I couldn't hear what your concern was.
My concern is, to me, I think I don't think there's a problem getting applicants to respond if they're looking for work. They're gonna see this and they're gonna respond. My main concern is that we have a good, constructive job description there that fits our community. And we're comfortable, and all the uniqueness and all the things that have gone on here are spelled out, and you can either think they're going to handle it or not, or they're going to see it and say that's not for them. Of course, you're from Arvada. You're a little more aware of where we are than some of these people we've talked to. But Yeah, I'm more concerned about the other side. Do you actually come down and visit one-on-one when we put a job description together and put the package out there?
Yes, 100%. I would never take on a search without coming down and meeting the people. The fact that I reside in Colorado helps, right? So I know it's a drive south, but yeah, no, I mean, whenever I work with a client, whether it's a business entity or a city, I want to go and meet those people. I want to be able to shake hands. I want to be able to walk through the facilities. I want to be able to know, like, hey, when we worked on the city of Lakewood and I'm sitting down talking to Kathy and we start having small talk about how, they're starting to expand this particular region or neighborhood and what issues the city's having, like that's huge, because when I'm talking to the candidates, now I'm not in the fake it till I make it zone. I'm in the, hey, I've been there and I know what it's like. When we paint the picture for the job description, it's going to be vibrant. It's going to show city pictures. It's going to show your town. It's going to paint that portrait. So whoever's like, I know where Colorado is, but I've never heard of that city before, they get to see and I can't do that if I've not taken the time to come and met with the group, the city council, walk through the hallways so I understand what's going on. And there's little things in an interview where if someone tests me and they say, well, have you been there before? Like, have you eaten at a restaurant? Well, yeah, I had lunch at X, Y, or Z. So it all makes a huge difference. So yes, I would take the time to come down and visit and meet with people if time allows.
Well, I think you'll find we're a bit different than Lakewood. We have,
for the little bit of research, I'm sure. But that doesn't make, it doesn't make it any different.
Right.
It still matters that I get to come down and take in the culture and the vibe.
right. Yeah, I don't think we have an assistant on the payroll. We have one in this department, one in that department, another in that department.
Yeah.
And it's a good group of people, and it's going to take the right person to fit in.
Yeah, and it's when we were doing and sorry I keep reverting back to Lakewood, but it's the same, very similar search. We would find that there were people that were from massive cities that were like, you know what, I want that smaller country feel. I want to be in a different environment. I've been tested and I want something a little bit smaller. And then we talked to people who said, that's too small. I want something bigger, and so everyone's got their preference. Yeah.
Well, that's my main concern. I think the people that are out there looking for jobs are going to respond. I just want to make sure they know what they're getting into.
Absolutely.
Well, I think part of what Rudel's trying to say is you have a candidate, of course, we want one that is qualified for the job. And because we are a small town, we also, personality is going to make a big difference, their temperament. I think, will you be able to identify that? Because it's like, big city, probably half the people don't even know who the city manager is or the city council. In Florence, everybody knows.
Sure.
So it's a small town environment, and so a lot of personality also, I think, plays into this.
Absolutely. And when we do the interview process, there will be that form of everyone's going to know who you are. First, are you comfortable with that? What type of a relationship do you have with your current community? How often are you getting out and meeting the residents and having those conversations? How do you react if someone recognizes you, if you go out for dinner with your family in the evening or brings a point of concern to you? Those will be interview questions that we'll touch upon. So they understand, that's how small the community is. But then also, what better way to get back to your community when they do know who you are? But yes, we will interview for that to ensure that people are aware of that's what your life is going to be like. But that'll be part of when I come down to visit. and sitting down with you all and asking you those types of questions. When we do our intake, if we do decide to move forward together, I'll interview you guys as much as you're interviewing me to understand, what do you love about it? What do you dislike about it? You know, what would you like to improve? What are your expectations for this person when they come in? What would be the one thing you would warn candidates about? So then I get a better idea of how I phrase my interview questions. And I'll share those with you guys as well. So when you all go in and you start to see the top candidates that we're finding, that you're like, okay, Andy touched upon X, Y, or Z. You know, either we have to touch upon those again, or, hey, Andy did a good enough job. We can touch on something else. But yeah, that'll be part of me coming down and meeting with the city council and all the key stakeholders to ensure that I can paint that picture for the team and the candidates.
Thank you.
And I got one last question. I just wanted to clarify that you stated that we might be responsible for our own screening and background checks of the semifinalists.
So typically we don't recommend that you go to that stage until, you get to your top one or two candidates. We use HireRight to do our background checks. Whatever you guys require, we can run for you. I've just worked with organizations where they have like an internal process. If you don't have that, we're happy to cover it all and then give you the records. HireRight, if you're not familiar, is a pretty nationwide service that basically checks Social Security Index, Sex Offender Index, and then they'll do background check where they'll call usually the last two jobs that they've held to ensure that those are accurate and that there's been no discrepancies. And then they usually do like an education verification. So if the person has a bachelor or master's degree, we cover that with the college or university. And then I would assume for this role, we would do a credit score as well, which they will also do.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Would
and that
that be
credit score, just to be clear, is not a personal one. It's to ensure that they haven't manipulated or used like a company or corporate credit card and had some like fraudulent or tax purpose issues or whatever. Yeah.
so? Would that be an extra fee?
No, it's all part of the fee.
Okay.
And all that documentation is provided in a PDF file that I can download and I can give to whoever needs to store it for future use.
Thank you.
Any other questions, council? Okay. Okay, Andy, we really appreciate your time. We're going to continue on with our special meeting, but thank you for clarifying all of our questions.
Yeah, absolutely. Have a great rest of your week and happy 4th of July. It seems like you guys have a great festival planned, so I hope you will enjoy it.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Okay. Now we are going to call Mark and I believe Lorney from KRW.
Who is it again?
Mark and Lorney. Hi, Mark. This is Cortland from the City of Florence. How are you? Good. Good. Do you have Lorney with you, or? I will try right now. Do you just hold on 1 second? Hey, is this Lorney? Hello? Hi, yeah, is this Lorney? Hi, this is Cortland from the City of Florence. How are you? Good. I have Mark on the other line, so I'm going to go ahead and merge the calls. Okay, can you both hear me okay? Okay, perfect. Awesome. Well, thank you in advance for any technological issues we might have. But I'm here with our city council. We're here obviously in our special meeting and we've all reviewed your proposal. So to start, we would like for you guys to tell us a little bit about your proposal and maybe highlight anything that you think is important for the city council to know before they ask you some questions. And if you have any issues hearing them, just let me know and I'm happy to reiterate. Okay? Okay, floor is all yours.
Well, Mr. Mayor and members of council, we appreciate your time. This is Lauren Kramer. I'm one of the managing partners of KRW Associates. A little bit about our firm. We are a Colorado corporation. We've been in business for a little over 18 years. Our primary focus is in the Rocky Mountain states, with a major focus in Colorado. That's probably about 70% of where our consulting business is. We perform a wide range of consulting services, including the one that we've submitted a proposal for a city manager. We understand totally that hiring a consultant, particularly for a position as important as your city manager, is a very important decision. We believe that it requires trust and it requires demonstrated expertise on the part of the firm that you're considering hiring. We believe that our reputation and our track record for the past 18 years certainly fulfills both of those expectations. We have offices in Arvada, one office in Denver, and then we have a satellite office down in Goodyear, Arizona. A little bit about our process, as outlined in our proposal. We consider ourselves to be a value-based organization. We aspire to not only meet the client's expectations, but we've found that an important part of developing that relationship is building a good level of communication between the client and our firm. And to do that, we make ourselves readily available. We ensure that any questions that come to us during the contract period, either Mark or I or a member of our senior staff would respond immediately. I know that you have the detailed proposal in front of you, but let me just make a couple highlights and then I'll let Mark add any comments that he has. Both Mark and I are previous city managers. We both understand the position very well. To start the process, if we entered into an agreement, we would establish some communication with the mayor and the city council to initially compile some input, some information from you all as to the ideal candidate that you're looking for, the skills, the abilities, the attributes that you're looking for in your new manager. There's several ways of doing that. We understand, particularly for the council, that time and schedules and public meetings are important things to accomplish. So many times the mayor and the council client will prefer to actually do that by email or telephonically through an interview. But whatever works for the members of the council, we can accommodate very easily. In some cases, and we certainly recommend in many cases, particularly for a city manager, that if the council so decides, we would conduct some interviews with department heads to ensure that, since they're going to be direct reports, that their input as to the kind of skills, kind of person that they're looking for in their new boss is considered. We would take all that information together and start to work on an advertisement. We certainly want to market the city of Florence. And so we would request a primary contact person to be able to get some critical information for that posting or that advertisement. We would recommend some very nice photos of activities in the community, because what we're really trying to do is market to prospective candidates Florence and its positive attributes. We would recommend taking that advertisement and posting it for a minimum of 30 days. We do a primary focus in the Rocky Mountain region, but quite frankly, the best results come from posting it nationally. There's a real interest around the country in prospective candidates wanting to relocate into Colorado, particularly for lifestyle issues and family issues. We handle all of the administrative tasks concerning the posting, receiving applications. We also have found in the last several years that you can in the business, you can no longer rely on just posting a position and then hoping that people read it and come to you. You have to supplement that with an outreach. And we have a proprietary database of qualified people that have indicated an interest in wanting new opportunities as a city manager or a town manager. And so in addition to the posting, the advertisement on the various sites, we would perform an outreach, an email outreach to them, not recommending per se that they apply, but making them aware of the opportunity and then leaving it up to them as to whether or not it appears to be a position that they think is a good fit for them. You certainly want somebody applying that's not just looking for a job and throwing out their resumes, but you also want somebody that really wants to be a member of the community for some period of time in Florence and understands more about the community itself. Once we get the applications, we use a tiering process that's a little unique. We tier. We start from the day one when applications start coming in, and we start looking at their qualifications and how they meet both the basic qualifications and preferred qualifications that are listed. We list them such as a tier A, which are candidates that we believe are highly qualified and have the background and the experience. B candidates are candidates that have some expertise or some background, but may not have the quality or the level of experience or background that those in the area A have. And then the C's are those that are just not qualified for the position at all. One of the benefits of doing that is it certainly does not mean that if council reviews candidates later on that a candidate's position as a semifinalist or even a finalist can't be changed. But it does give you a starting point in looking at, from our professional expertise, those people that we think are really suited for the position. We would meet then with the council and the mayor and decide on who you would like to see as semifinalists. Typically, it's in the 8 to 10 number range. Once we collectively and the council has decided on who we'd like to see advance in the process as semifinalists, we will conduct recorded virtual interviews with those candidates. They last about 30 minutes, sometimes goes a little bit longer, but the value of that is those recording interviews then are submitted to the council and the mayor for their review. So you can actually see the individual, you can actually see how they respond to questions, and those demonstrated qualities that are important to selecting those individuals that you'd like to move on in the process. We would once again, after the council has had an opportunity to review those recordings, and we would then conduct another meeting with council to decide on a select finalists. Once the finalists are selected, then we will do even deeper due diligence. We'll do reference checks. We'll do a criminal background, a national criminal background, and something that we found several years ago that's very important with the exposure of social media that people have. It's very important that we do a social media check also. And so whatever social media sites that prospective finalist has, we will also do a social media check on there. We pride ourselves in the fact that that due diligence has kept our clients from being embarrassed by somebody that may have something in their background that would not be a good fit for the community. And then it's a matter of the council deciding on dates for the process. We have some recommendations on the process itself as far as interviews. We recommend for the finalists a community reception, or what's commonly referred to as a meet and greet, on an afternoon where you can actually invite community members or other stakeholders into informal reception where they can actually meet those finalist candidates. Generally, the finalists can be anywhere from 3 to 5 candidates. That's really a matter of council and the mayor's decision on how many finalists you'd like to actually invite in for the process. We perform a service of developing all of the assessment and interview questions, the reports that are needed, the evaluation forms that are needed for that process. One process that has proved very successful is, particularly for a city manager, is an actual one-on-one interview with the candidates with full council, and a secondary committee or panel of stakeholders. It could be people in the community, Chamber of Commerce, school superintendent, those individuals that the council feels strongly that would be constituents, basically, of the city manager, someone that they will work with closely. So that's kind of an overview. I know that you are a little pressed for time. Maybe I'll let Mark jump in. Is there anything that I've overlooked or glossed over, Mark?
No, Lauren, I think you've done an excellent job as far as just an overview of the process that we utilize. Mayor, Council, the only thing that I'll add is that we have just had remarkably good success with placing candidates, especially within the last year and a half to 2 years. We just concluded recruitments and selection processes for the city of Yuma, Colorado, for the town of Minturn, for the town of Carbondale, and we're right now finishing up the SALT. And in the first 3, we have just had remarkably good success with having just absolutely great candidates that have now been selected and what we think are good fits for the community. So we would recommend, I guess, as you make your final determinations, please, by all means, reach out to those communities, and they're our best reference in terms of our process and our success. Just ask them just if they've been pleased with just what we've been able to do for them, because we really do try and specialize with small communities. We don't do the Arvadas and the Westminsters and then the Lovelands, where that's a larger community that we're just not really, that's not our niche. We really do focus on small communities where we think that we can really do a good job. And with that, I'll turn it back to you, Lauren.
Yeah, I guess without taking an awful lot more of your time, I certainly don't want to be too verbose. I'll just open it up to whatever questions the mayor and the council may have.
Yeah, I had a quick question on the meet and greet for the finalists and those final interviews. You talked about interview with the entire council and then maybe with some of the other stakeholders. Do you also, have you had experience with interviews with a city employee group in there?
Yes, we have. In fact, that's certainly an option. If there is an organized employee group, we can certainly arrange to get their input in that process, much like the department heads.
Yeah,
Right.
I'll follow up on Lauren's comments. Absolutely. We, in fact, in the 2 recent searches that we've done, what we've done on, if it was a Thursday, Friday process, on that Thursday, we go ahead and arrange a luncheon, kind of a break bread with department heads and key staff members. And there's a great chance to sit down with the candidates and just have a really casual, great discussion with everybody, and provide an opportunity for the staff to really have a chance to meet the candidates, ask some good questions, and then even really have some one-on-one time. So we highly encourage that, and we think that that's very important in terms of your decision-making process and really good feedback as you make your final selection, council members.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Kramer, with your former employment in Colorado Springs, I would say you know Florence quite well, just being 32 miles south. So do you feel that that might give your company an edge? Maybe if you see a candidate, you might like what they present. Do you think that a little insight maybe with our closeness and with your former employment, et cetera, to know a little bit about Florence already?
We do know Florence, and in fact, we haven't. I don't think in the 18 years, I don't think Florence has actually been a client of ours. We have done several projects in both Pueblo and Pueblo West. To answer your question directly, I think it goes back to we do know Colorado particularly well, and in fact, many of the prospective candidates that we have in our database that have been previous applicants for other positions and for one reason or another just were not selected, but they're highly qualified. We would focus on them because of their familiarity with Colorado and with not just the region, but Colorado in general.
Thank you.
Just out of curiosity, in the digital world now, is there some place you can go and find every city in the United States that's looking for a city manager? I mean, what's the market out there?
I hope I understood the question. It broke up a little bit for me, but yeah, it has become a very competitive business, if I understood the question. And some of it's demographics. Some city managers, town managers that have been in, that are developing a tenure and getting close to retirement are leaving their jobs. And one of the values in our database that we have, which we think have found is very important, we have some aspiring young people that are very qualified, that are holding positions as department heads and deputy managers in other locations that are still have a lot of longevity left in their careers. It has become a very competitive business, and the other thing is we do understand there are and I'm sure you're interviewing some other prospective companies. There are a lot of really good companies in Colorado and nationally. They certainly are competitors of ours. We understand that you only have the opportunity of selecting one consulting firm. But we rest, as Mark was saying earlier, we really rest on our reputation. We do have a website, but we do very little marketing or advertisement for our firm. The one thing that we're very proud of is that the majority of our business comes from previous client referrals, and we think that that's really the best testament for the quality of work that we've done for previous clients.
I'm more concerned about the job description. I think we're going to get plenty of applicants, and you people are the experts on vetting the applicants. But my main concern is the job description and just the outline of who we're looking for. And I'm sure being around Colorado Springs, you know some of the history down here. On a scale of 1 to 10, we've had a city manager that was a 0, and we just lost one to 10. And it's going to make us pretty critical about who we get. Somebody's going to walk into this job, and it's going to be a pretty nice job compared to what it was a few years ago. And we got some great people to work with. I want to make sure they have a great boss and get, comfortable for all the work they've put in over the years. And so it's got to be a good fit. And I want to make sure we can get that point across to you. If you get this job, I'm looking for the people of just kind of what we're looking for. And I think that's why it's important to have somebody come down here and meet some of these people, the department heads and the council and some of the people in town. So that's where my concern mostly is.
Well, we certainly understand that concern, and you're absolutely right. The bottom line is you're going to have candidates that have a variety of types of qualifications, but it really comes down to the chemistry and the right fit, and that's what we emphasize in that process that we've outlined, both not only in those virtual interviews, which really gives you a little more insight into an individual other than just their resume and their background, but also that process for the finalists, the types of questions that are asked, and the kinds of as you said, the fit. We recognize that, and that's probably one of the most important things for selecting your new manager.
Thank you.
Okay, council, any other questions?
I know that their proposal is so detailed that a lot of those questions have been answered, timelines and all that. Yeah.
Okay,
I agree.
sounds good. Well then, gentlemen, we really appreciate your time, and we're going to continue on with our special meeting. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We appreciate your time.
Yes, enjoy
Thank you very much, everybody. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay. So the last and final proposal was from Strategic Government Resource, and his name is Clay.
Clay Walker, Team Rope.
Hey Clay, this is Cortland from the City of Florence. How are you? Good. I could hear you following along, which is great. I have the city council here. We appreciate you taking the time. So We're going to jump into some questions, but just to kind of start off, please let me know if you have any technical difficulties throughout this process. And go ahead and just kind of start by telling us about the proposal and just kind of highlight on some things that you think is important for the city council members to know before they ask some questions. And if you have any issues as far as hearing them, just let me know and I'm happy to kind of facilitate. So the floor is all yours.
It's Clay Pearson, and I am a Senior Vice President for Strategic Government Resources. The recruiter for Florence will be Larry Gilly, and he apologized. He had a conflict that he could not move for this to be with you in person. But Larry is, he was my mentor when I started with SGR, and we actually did the La Junta city manager search together nearby, and so know the area a little bit. But Larry is really the go-to person for Colorado cities. He's worked with not only La Junta but Trinidad, some of the larger places up and down both sides of the range, Frisco, and many cities. So, and he's also been asked back for additional searches. So I think that's a great testament to his professionalism and expertise. If you don't mind, you've got the proposals, and I think a lot of the search processes are very similar with all the firms nowadays. I'm happy to go over any of the details that you'd like on that. But what I will say emphatically and without question is that SGR is been in local government specifically and exclusively for 26 years, and it is the go-to firm for executive search, consulting, council workshops, retreats, and continuing education in a lot of different venues, servant leadership, all kinds of different technical venues. So, but SGR, you won't find anybody that's got the reach that we do. I myself have I've hired SGR when I was a manager in a couple different cities. So I've used them and I've been a client of theirs. I've been an applicant and placed with them. So I've been on that side in searches of theirs. And then, and now, when I left my last job, we decided we didn't want to move, and made the selection that I could use this as my next phase to continue helping cities. So I'm a recruiter as well, but I'm also helping facilitate some of these opportunities for describing SGR services. But SGR, as evidence of the reach that you will get with our executive search, we've got approximately 40,000 subscribers to our weekly e-newsletter, 40,000 subscribers. So that's built up over time, obviously, and those are people that have opted in because they value the content that we offer, and they're people that respect and appreciate the opportunities that we list as part of that newsletter. We have about 5,000 targeted outreach individuals that subscribe just to city manager searches. LinkedIn, which is the go-to for much of professional life these days, 20,000 followers to SGR's website. You won't find that with any other firm. And then the job board, just in the last 30 days, we had 16,000 views on that. So it's a company that's got that kind of reach and scale to highlight your Florence opportunity and make sure that you get the broad pool and depth pool that you deserve for this very important decision, and somebody to help work with you and leading the community forward. So again, I could go through the process, but I think you've seen and heard much about those. Ours is similar. It's a full service package that we offer, meaning that it's inclusive. You won't get nickel and dimed for extras and other kinds of things.
It's all shown up in there, so it's a very complete package, and I'm proud to work for SGR now. I'm proud to represent them, and Larry Gilly is just a stand-up, fantastic person that you get to work with and would lead the search. And he's got deep roots and experience in Colorado, and particularly smaller cities that like Florence has. So with that, I'll turn over and happy to answer any questions you might have.
Actually, you just mentioned hidden extra costs. One of my questions was you had a whole page of extra costs should they incur. And that's the only proposal we got that had that. So it made me a little concerned about how often do those kick in.
And I'm sorry, I couldn't hear that exactly. It said, what did it show on the extra costs?
No, I said you're the only applicant that listed a whole page of extra costs for different things that would come up during the search. Here's what that extra cost would be. And then you just
So
said
those would be like extras that you might select, but what the 28,000 the package is, that includes that's going to be inclusive of what you'll see for the search services. So there may be things that are listed there that if you were to go back out and needed additional resumes, those really haven't come up in any of the searches I've been involved with where people have had to go tap into that. I think that might be there just for reference and just in case sort of thing. But the package and the inclusivity is shown that'll cover what you'll need.
that holds for most cases then. That was just my question, because that was the only application we had that had any of that listed. Okay, now this,
they're just as reference, and if somebody had for some different reasons needed to go outside of the scope of what's been quoted, but I haven't had that happen on my searches at all.
okay. Does this Larry Gilly, he live in Colorado?
He, I don't know. He's got an RV and he travels over there quite a bit. I don't know if he spends a lot of time there whenever I'm talking to him.
Half
I
the
think he's got a
RVs up
place
here
in
got a
Fort
Texas
Worth.
license plate on it.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
I said half the RVs up here have a Texas license plate on them.
Yeah, I think he keeps his place parked there in Fort Worth, but he's all over.
Will he be available to come up here and meet with us personally?
100%. That's part of it and very important. He would come personally to talk with you, interview you for what we call stakeholder interviews, also council, staff, community members as you see fit and would designate.
Right.
And all that's geared towards very, very important piece of it, and that's the position profile. So that is an accurate representation of Florence, the structure, the opportunities, the needs, what you all set out there. That position profile, and you've probably seen samples of that we do. That's what gets pushed out to those tens of thousands of contacts that we have. And so that is selling Florence and the opportunity and making sure that everybody has the right expectations going into it about what the place offers in terms of quality of life and professional opportunities to grow and to make some more successes there in Florence.
Well, I agree with that. I don't know anything about the search. That's you guys' business. My main concern is the job description and somehow put together something of the type of person we're looking for. Because, like I said before, I think everybody thinks they have a unique little community, but I think we truly do from some of the stuff we've been through down here and some of the people that they'll have to work with, and we want to make sure we remain on the right track and are making the same progress 1 and 2 years as we are right now. And we don't,
Yeah, I believe, I agree that profile is what represents the place, and I spend a lot of time looking at those. I know Larry does as well, making sure that that's crisp and clear, but also talks about whatever, if there's challenges with water supply or budget or finance, whatever, those are outlined so that again, it's important. This is a mutual decision so that somebody that's applying for the job knows what they're getting into, at least at that level. And then they get into our process and we vet them through with you and make sure that we get somebody for the good long haul to work alongside you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, one quick question on the fee proposal. You have the fixed price at $26,919, and then up to $2,500 in ad placements. And how often do you do those ad placements, and what would that look like?
So there's an allowance there. The 2,500 gets you. ICMA is the City Managers Association. We do outreach to different affinity groups, Hispanic network, Colorado, Western Planner, Colorado Managers Association. It's a good list. We would go through that, and obviously, again, Larry's got the experience and knows what works in your area. We'll show that to you, make sure you're comfortable with that, and place those. We run the advertisements, and once posted, that goes out for 4 weeks before we bring the candidate list to you.
Okay, and is the job posted in other areas that are not part of that 2,500?
Are not part of what? I'm sorry?
Well, you said the ad placements for the job, for the position. Right. Is there also, just in the fixed fee, is there places where this position will be posted?
Oh yeah, I mean it's we've got the list. I mean, like I said, it goes to the city managers group, state associations. We've got the huge SGR database. There's no charge for that, obviously, and other some other placements. So that's included in that allowance, the advertising allowance. So that's all. And again, that's not something that people have gone over in my searches. So it's enough to cover all of those outlets.
Okay.
What's the market like out there? Availability of prospective city managers?
Great question. I would say it's competitive. People are generally hesitant to move, just housing costs, et cetera. That scares some people off. Obviously, it's situational. Different places, are different towards that. So you got to be aware of that. But I think city manager placements that we've had, I'm doing a presentation tonight for Battle Creek, Michigan, and they actually had hired the municipal league first to do their search, and they were not happy. The council was not happy with the pool that they got, so they brought us in and hired us. I've got them 42 applicants, and I would say easily more than half are high quality A/B sort of things that they're gonna have to winnow down. So, I think La Junta, when I worked on that one with Larry, a little bit farther removed from the metropolitan area and so forth and so on. We probably had, it was a year ago, but maybe 25, 30. I don't know what Larry had for Trinidad when he did that search, but it's important to not only get a deep pool, but quality. And I think that with our outreach and the SGR name, we're able to bring people that you'll have a solid pool that you'll be able to select from and go through.
Well, that between Trinidad, Yuma, and Minturn had to be about as diverse selection of communities as you could find in Colorado.
Yeah.
So that's probably a pretty good indicator. There's some people wanting to move to Colorado, I would think.
Right. I think Larry's got the contacts there. He goes to the state association meetings and so forth, presents at those. So he's got really great ties throughout there. But we're not going to limit it to just Colorado for the outreach. Obviously, I think Colorado's got a lot of pluses, and people want to be in the state, so you got a big advantage there. That's just, you got a lot of momentum and good things going on there, or statewide.
Yeah, the last our city manager was from Kansas, so I have no problem with going outside the border.
Kansas was a great place. That's where I grew up, Central Kansas, a little town of 3,000 people. So I know small town, Midwest kind of cities very well.
Any other questions? Yeah, the packet again is well done and real detailed. And we appreciate that.
Good deal. Well, you've got the material. If there's any follow-ups, happy to answer any questions. And again, apologize that Larry wasn't able to be with us on this call. If you would like to do a follow-up with him at any point, we'd love to. But he will definitely be ready, willing, and able to come there and meet and start the search and get going with y'all.
Okay, that sounds great, Clay. Thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it.
Cheers. Likewise. Thanks. Bye.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Okay, that was a lot of information for us. Yeah, we do have this listed as new business, so we could make a decision now if we wanted to. That's one option. Other option might be to table it till the next meeting.
Could we discuss
Yes, we can.
making a decision?
Oh yeah, we can discuss. We can. Yeah, we're in open meetings. We can discuss. Yeah.
I really like SRG's proposal and.
Is your mic on?
Oh, okay, thank you. All right, so I like SRG's proposal. The fact that they have a very wide candidate forum that they put out there for the cities, and the description of the candidate, the city manager that they're looking for in here that they gave for us is really good. One thing, and their timeline, 12 weeks seems good.
The good thing about the high altitude, it sounded like it was homey. We're a homey community. I liked the KRW because they specifically, Lauren knows Florence. They're Colorado based. They're close. I liked what he proposed. I also liked what I heard from the SGR. So I like those last two exceptionally well.
Yeah, it was like the high altitude. Partners is more of a business model than a municipal government model for finding candidates. And the other two seem to be strong, reputable companies.
To me, the one thing that came out was that one company to work with, Trinidad, Yuma, and Minturn, which means they can work with small towns. Yuma's probably comparable to Florence.
Yeah.
It's not a tourist place. Minturn is right in the middle of the ski corridor. Trinidad is kind of we all know Trinidad. It's a very, very unique town that's probably more adapted to New Mexico than it is Colorado. So I think it speaks volumes that they could work with those three communities.
Now, which organization are you talking
That
about?
was the last one.
Okay.
Okay.
I think Minturn was with K.
Yeah, Yuma and
That was
Minturn.
Yeah,
KRW.
they were La Junta or Lamar.
They
and
were
Trinidad.
Yeah, La Junta and Trinidad were the last
La Junta and Trinidad.
SGR. And then KRW was Yuma, Minturn, Carbondale, and Basalt.
Well, we know they're working with towns our size, and they're getting people.
Mm-hmm.
And KRW and SGR similar in their proposals. KRW to me is here in Colorado, understands Colorado, even though they have a wide outreach.
I kind of got the impression that they were recycling their applicants a lot and not looking for new or national applicants.
Who was that?
KRW. Anybody?
Like they have
Yeah.
a clientele.
Yeah.
That was my impression.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
know anybody else.
I think they all maintain a database of.
Yeah, they were keeping in touch with the people that have either been placed or looking for placement or expressed an interest
Yes.
in future employment.
Yeah. I think you'd find that for both of them have an extensive database.
Yeah, whether
Cost-wise, they're all in the ballpark.
Yeah, close to the same.
They're in the ballpark. I'm still a little, I'll admit, I'm still a little confused on that ad placement, $2,500 in ad placements. That's just totally optional. I think it sounded like it was optional, but there may be some other,
When he was talking about putting together one on the first one, second one about the photographic package, needing photographs, he must mean video. Surely they're not this day and age printing pamphlets.
well, no, I think, well, they'd probably be looking for, like we did last time, photographs of the city.
Oh, I know, but
Yeah. And like that.
seems a little
Minturn.
archaic that they'd be doing a mailer.
One on Minturn, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So,
If I was looking for city manager job and you could get on the computer, I was trying to get it out of that one guy. How many places do you have to go to probably see everyone that's available in the United States? Is it that tied together? Well, he said it's a small world.
yeah.
So I think that part of it, I think is the vetting. I think you're gonna get the people that are looking for work. You're gonna get a hit on it. I think Colorado's a plus. I think small town in Colorado's a plus. I think there's a lot of pluses. But then it's just vetting through them and see which ones are doing it for the right reasons that match ours. Hopefully, that's the way it is.
I'm like Gil, I like KRW. My problem, a lot of that is because Lauren was a former city manager, a deputy manager, and chief police for Colorado Springs. He's familiar with Florence. Wants to meet with department heads. I kind of like them too. Sounds like they're both good companies.
Could we ask staff to do a just a search to like Trinidad or Minturn about each one of the companies and see what they thought about them? Is that
Are you asking us to just to like check references? Is that the direction? Yeah, I don't see why that can't be a motion for sure. Dan, feel free to chime in if I'm not following the parameters correctly.
Yeah, I mean, I think pretty much anything's on the table, right? So it can be to follow up with more information regarding X or Y or Z. It can be to, start negotiating. I haven't looked at the exact proposed agreements, but, we could have something ready for signature, sort of whatever phase of the process you guys are ready to execute. And it doesn't have to be the whole thing. It can be kind of step by step, if that makes sense.
When you call a reference like that, who do you call? Somebody at City Hall?
That's probably where I'd start.
Are they, but I mean, can they say anything?
I'm sure. Well, and to be very forthcoming, the majority of the companies that I reached out to for a proposal were from the clerk listserv. So they were other municipal clerks who had kind of helped navigate this process. And they said, oh, we had a great experience with them. We had a great experience with them. So I'm sure I could connect with clerks, if not city managers directly, as far as, this company was great, except they maybe weren't forthcoming in information, or, from a city manager's perspective and also from a staff perspective in both. I don't see why I couldn't do that.
The reason I ask that, I've worked with outfits, you cannot give out any kind of employment information.
Sure. And
if they have that, that's great.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I don't think I'd be going that deep, just mostly as far as like experience or expectations or maybe room for improvement.
Well, that's great if you get that information right now.
On the more current placements.
So, for SRG, it would be La Junta and Trinidad. And for KRW, it would be Yuma and Minturn.
My only thought was, if this is who I used, they're probably going to get a rosy comment back. If they've hired their person through that company, you're not going to say, oh, they were horrible, don't use them. Okay, do you want someone to bite the bullet? I do have one that I've liked overall. So I would like to make the motion to authorize the mayor to enter into a contract with KRW in the amount that's quoted of $24,000.
Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay. Further discussion?
Is this before we make the calls?
There's a motion. There's a motion on the table. Yeah. We have time for further discussion here.
Do you want to do some reference calls before we?
Well, that's one thing we could ask for. I know I'm a little hesitant to make the call without Matt and James.
That's true.
Then I'll rescind motion and we'll take care of this at Monday's council meeting. Because is that enough time?
Yeah,
that's not enough time.
I was also just going to note, whether you motion and approve to sort of consider one, but you don't want to formally approve it, we can certainly get the contract kind of worked out and present that on Monday's meeting. And if at the time it's like, nope, we actually don't want to go with that group, there's no obligation to sign the contract. So it's the 4th of July week too, so I'm not quite sure how quick they'd be getting started or anything like that. So just wanted to mention all of that.
Makes sense.
Yeah, I think it's prudent to call a couple of references. There's been lots of times in hindsight we should have done that.
Yeah, I would really like references.
Yeah. Do we need to make a motion for that? Okay.
Please.
Okay.
Then I'll make the motion that the references mentioned, Minturn, Yuma for KRW be called, and for SGR, Trinidad and what? La Junta be called. And then we will take care of that when it's presented.
Can we add others later, or does she have to stick to that group? Because I have another city I would like to add to that.
Sure.
Yeah. Walsenburg,
And Walsenburg was for who?
KRW.
KRW. Okay, so KRW will have 3, and then SGR 2.
Do you have
At
a
your
second?
earliest convenience.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Further discussion? Roll call, please.
Counselor McKinnon,
Yes.
Counselor Gardner,
Yes.
Counselor Mergelman,
Yes.
Counselor Stone,
Yes.
Mayor Wolf.
Yes. Do we have a motion, do we need to table this till the July 7th Monday meeting?
No, you don't need to table the existing item. I think the motion that passed is what staff will do and bring back to you, and that may or likely will be on your next agenda, but whenever that item is ready, it'll be on your next agenda.
Yeah. Realistically, probably the second meeting in July.
Counting special one or the second regular one?
Second regular meeting unless you'd like a special one. Thank you.
Does anybody have any reason to move into executive session? Hearing none?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Okay, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Meeting adjourned at 2:26.
Thanks, bud. Not too bad, right? Harmless?